Hi there, I'm Tanvi Verma, and I'm on the ground right in front of the ICE facility in South Portland. And we do actually have some breaking news. A judge has just sided with Oregon Attorney General Dan Rayfield and granted a temporary restraining order, which means the National Guard cannot come into Portland for now. I do want to show you what's going on. Right behind me, you can see there's about 100 people maximum blocking the driveway outside the ICE facility. We did see a lot of confrontations today between protesters and DHS employees. I do want to show you remnants of that confrontation. Look on the floor. You see what looks like that blue powdery substance? Earlier today, we saw what appeared to be DHS employees actually spray protesters with a blue-looking gas, and it's now accumulated on the floor. There is a lot of energy here. Earlier today, there was even more people. The crowd is starting to thin. We're starting to see people wearing all black clothes standing outside the ICE facility. I did speak with a protester a while ago, and they were telling me the strategy behind standing in front of the driveway. They said the point of that was to not let cars in and out so that immigrants cannot be removed. If you want to listen to this. Okay. That's Portland Police making an announcement. And Portland Police. Okay, so you just heard Portland Police made an announcement saying, please leave the roadway and the sidewalk for safety. It's notable that we're really seeing Portland Police pick back up this week. They were staying out of it for the most part, but now they're saying they're actually increasing their officers here on the ground, so much so that it's costing them a lot of money in overtime. I'm going to step out for a minute so I can show you what's about to happen, because now Portland Police is giving that warning that people need to step out for safety. This is going to be important to watch to see what happens, because protesters are not moving. You see them, they're still blocking that driveway, and this is when we have seen confrontations begin. You can also hear there's a helicopter in the air that's been basically moving around the periphery of the scene, and people have been shouting at that helicopter. It seems like it is affiliated, obviously, with the ICE facility. We are working to confirm that, but again, there's all eyes on the ground, up in the air. You can see there's literally somebody, this appears to be a protester, who's actually managing traffic. And there's been people honking, by the way, in support of the protest. People saying things against ICE. Okay, they're playing music. Looks like they've cleared from in front of the driveway completely. They're just on the sidewalks now. So I guess they might not be planning on actually blocking that driveway, but we're taking a look to see what's happening. You can see people are wearing gas masks. Like I said earlier, there was what appeared to be some sort of gas deployed against protesters. That is that blue film on the floor that you saw earlier. And you can also see, like I said, more people are coming dressed in black. When I've spoken to protesters who would dress in black before in protests similar to this, they said it was because they didn't want their identity to be known, because, as you can see, there's a lot of arrests happening. There was a few we saw today. That is, we saw people getting detained. We're working to confirm whether they were formally arrested and charged. And if you hear me going silent, it's because I'm listening in. Yep, there's that helicopter. It's getting closer and closer. We hear it louder and louder. And people are screaming at the helicopter, but it might be a little hard to hear because of how loud that helicopter is. You can see there's also protesters just outside of Macadam, and they're blocking in cars from coming in this way. They're holding signs. Earlier, we actually saw what appeared to be DHS employees blocking traffic, but now it's protesters, and they're holding signs that are anti-ICE. All right, there's people blocking the driveway. They're walking forward. Like I keep saying, that is when confrontation starts in what we've been seeing in the past few days. It's when that driveway is blocked, and a protester had told me that they're blocking it so that ICE cannot pick up immigrants and facilitate any sort of deportation process. That is the strategy behind it. And obviously, we're seeing protests pick up now that the National Guard was supposedly going to be deployed, but that judge just issued the ruling that is going to put a pause on that deployment of the National Guard. It's unclear whether anybody here knows that yet, but it is a temporary restraining order. So that means it can be appealed and it's only temporary. So the National Guard isn't for sure not coming to Portland at all. They just cannot come by law today. I haven't seen any protesters really acknowledge that, but it just happened. So we'll be looking out for that. We're hearing some sort of announcement, but it's unclear whether that's Portland police or protesters. Look at that, more honks of support just off of McAdam. You see a line of cars there just honking in support of protesters. A lot of energy. You can see people are now officially blocking traffic. They're holding that line. Cars are not able to get through. This is what Portland police was making their announcement about. They're asking people to clear those streets. Unclear how those cars are going to get around now. Unclear whether those cars are related to the Department of Homeland Security or if they're just average cars. But you can see they're turning around. Looks like they're actually following a car. Those two protesters are following the car. They're dressed in black. Looks like a woman is walking up to the car. We did see protesters chase down cars that look very similar to that. You could see about a few people are now walking up to that car. Okay, the car is now going. But we've seen protesters run after cars, and we assume those cars are related to the Department of Homeland Security. So we're keeping an eye on that. But high energy. I mean, you can hear music. There was even people dancing. Doesn't seem like they're planning on leaving anytime soon. I'd say it's about 24 people now that are forming some kind of circle or semicircle around the ICE building. I can see people with gas masks on. Earlier today, we did see some sort of gas deployed at protesters. It was blue in color, so it looks like they came prepared. I also see somebody with a Make America Great hat in there. So we're starting to see people from both sides of the political aisle come in. We did see tensions rise between both sides of the political aisle last night. So that's why we're keeping an eye really closely. I can see that Make America Great hat, and then I can see people in all black. I can see people in what looks like riot gear. You can see what looks to be a bulletproof vest, gas masks. There's actually a lot of veterans here too. I spoke to a couple, and we see more now. One of the signs reads, "This Vietnam veteran says due process now." There's been a lot of complaints about what people are saying is the lack of due process when it comes to removal proceedings against immigrants. There's been a lot of complaints, and we've been reaching out to ICE about these complaints, that people haven't been getting notice of immigration charges against them. Oh, looks like tensions are rising. We're staying here for safety reasons, but we're looking as close as we can. because it does look like something is happening right in the middle of the street in front of that ice facility. Looks like another car is kind of stuck. A lot of honks for support. A lot of honks for support. The people were gathering around the driveway. One of the protesters just told me there's a strategy behind that. The goal is to block cars from leaving the ICE facility. That way they cannot take immigrants and commence any sort of immigration proceedings against them. And they've been told to get out of the middle of the area there because it's a safety risk. That's Portland Police. Portland Police is quite a presence here. We've seen liaison officers here. That is people who are focused on de-escalation. I'm just listening into the announcement. That does not sound like Portland Police. People do have gas masks and they are making announcements themselves. So this looks to be a pretty organized protest here because there are people running traffic and there's people camped out here. You can see they're planning to stay. I spoke with some presence here. But it's their liaison officers, so it's not officers that are here to really tackle an imminent, dangerous situation in the traditional sense, that is. There's a protester talking about jaywalking. I know when there was the Gaza protests happening, some protesters told me they got arrested for jaywalking. So I'm wondering if the talk about jaywalking is a reference to that. But see, those counter protesters are right up against the ICE facility. They're getting close, and we're hearing those honks of support for ICE protesters. Oh, looks like they even have food here. I see some protesters getting plates of baked goods. Just listen to those honks of support. It's like a song. So you see they're holding signs and they're standing outside that ICE facility. Thank you so much for tuning in to this live stream. We're going to be churning out more and more content for you. If you just joined in, you should know that a judge just granted the temporary restraining order filed by the Oregon Attorney General. That means, at least for now, the National Guard cannot come here. So we will keep you posted on that. More information on our website about that TRO. A press conference is actually going to start at 5:30, so we do have to get to that. Thank you so much. I'm going to duck out.